Hey everyone, what you're about to see is a clip I did with Aisha Tariq, who is a corporate banker from Dubai. She has been in corporate banking for the past 17 years, and this podcast was phenomenal because she shared some amazing insights on Palantir coming from a corporate finance perspective and really giving her insights, given her experience with evaluating companies, working with founder-led CEOs to sort of understand why she invested in Palantir, right? And I always like asking people who come from really specific backgrounds. I talked to Sachin Sharma, who's a geophysicist. I talked to Dom from Dominating Your Investments, who's in cybersecurity. And now I talked to Aisha, who's really not in the tech world. She's really from the finance world, and she's giving her perspective for why she made this investment in Palantir. In this clip, we're going to be talking about two things, which is how big can Palantir get? She believes the total addressable market is just going to get exponentially get bigger and bigger and bigger, which means Palantir could get bigger and bigger and bigger because there is more of a market for them to capture. And could Palantir ultimately get crushed by its competitors? So we focused on those two things in this clip. I'll leave the full podcast in the description. Definitely check it out because she did an amazing job really explaining her insights from the finance corporate banking world and relaying them back to Palantir. So hope you guys enjoy. Can Palantir get crushed by its competitors, and how big can Palantir get?
One of the things I liked about the company when I started researching them a lot heavier a couple months ago was all the different product offerings they have. I mean, when I really went through their website, I was just fascinated by they're trying to track crypto. They're trying to help startups. They're trying to do drug discovery. They're trying to do energy storage. Like they're really finding a use case for this software in ways or in industries that traditionally have never used this type of data analytics platforms before. And for me as an investor, when I was seeing them at $22, $23 a share, and then I was just thinking, 2030, 2035, if I don't touch the money I put into them, and they're attacking every industry in the world, and they can grow at a moderate pace and hopefully exceed expectations because that's what exponential growth curves look like. I kind of think this is a no-brainer, and I kind of think of how it's going. Now, for you, coming from a financial perspective, someone who has analyzed companies, analyzed total addressable markets, at the intersection of their product offering and what they're trying to address in terms of the market they're going after, how do you see their data analytics platform actually being able to attack, I think they said $120 billion market? Do you see that as feasible? Do you think that market is growing? Kind of what's your perspective on that?
No, absolutely. Look, I think going back to the topic of product offering, they actually have only two products, which is pretty interesting. Well, three if you count Apollo as well.
Apollo's an
But
interesting product. It's hard to
yeah,
even count it, to be honest, but yes, yeah.
but so from what I understand, it's just two basic products. One is Gotham, one is Foundry, and then if you add in Apollo, right? So, but what's interesting is the iterations of these products. So what they do is it's the same basic product,
Yep.
but they tailor it for various industries and various requirements, let's say. So when I look at, so this is where I liked the company. So when you look at every industry across the spectrum, Palantir can be used everywhere, basically everywhere. I mean, I think more and more. So yesterday I was listening to Professor Damodaran. He had this video and he was talking about data and how we have too much data, right? And we don't know what to do with it. We don't know how to slice and dice it. Sometimes having too much data is a problem. And it's only a problem if you can't process it.
Right.
So this is where I think Palantir adds super value. I mean, we've been collecting data for the last 20 years or so, but we don't know how to use it. We don't know how to readily use it to make our companies better, our lives better. And this is now an offering, a software, a layer, if you'd like, that sort of translates. This is my understanding of the product, that it's sort of, you've got a whole lot of this mess and raw data, and then you've got Palantir like a wall in between that sort of translates and filters and makes it like usable for regular people.
Right.
So you don't have to be a tech guy, or you don't have to be someone who's like, into computers or anything like that. You can just, it brings it to you in a usable format.
Right.
And it helps you make decisions faster, smoother, which translates into more money. I mean, who doesn't want more money, right?
Right.
I think it makes the whole process very efficient, and it will be applied, or it can be applied to every industry out there. I don't see any case where you can't actually use it, because every industry is collecting data, right? It's across the spectrum. So when they talk about their TAM being certain billions and stuff like that, I don't know. I think it could be more than that even.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think they're narrowing their focus because, or let's say they don't want to talk too much about it.
Don't
They
want to be
they don't
overly
want to go.
optimistic. Yeah.
Yeah, so because they don't want to fail people's expectations. And but I think if you look at it 10 years from now, I think they could have potentially have a much bigger TAM. And I think the TAM will just grow, as more and more companies transition to computerized systems, to collecting data, to it's a growing market. It's not that their TAM will grow, the entire market will grow. So
Right.
it's a beautiful concept. I think there's a lot to be seen from this company.
I think that's the thesis, right? Because it is compared to Tesla a lot. And I think with the original Tesla bulls, the people that were buying it, we're buying Palantir at 16. They were buying Tesla at, $100 pre-split. Those people believed that the internal combustion engine was gone. It was out. It was going away. There were macro dynamics happening that was going to lead to it leaving. And they were betting on the fact that consumers were going to pick electric cars, not only because of the environment, not only because energy was going to be more efficient, but truly because they wanted vehicles that fitted a certain modern archetype. Not just like that it was Tesla's. Tesla's was amazing as well, but they wanted a different type of product in the market. Just like when the iPhone replaced phones with keyboards, we wanted touchscreens because we realized how much more efficient it was than anything else. I think what you're saying with Palantir is if we all truly do agree that data is the new oil, I know it's a used cliche, but that every single company cannot survive without massive amounts of data. And I think there's this ridiculous stat that we're making the same amount of data per day that we were making from the beginning of the earth until like the year 2000 every single day. Like it's a ridiculous amount of data because we're at a global competitive market with massive amounts of computing power. Then there's going to have to be some technology, whether it's Palantir or something, that's going to be able to understand that data and make sense of that data. And it's like, the way I think of it, Spotify should not be a big company. Because what does Spotify sell? They sell music, right? YouTube sells music, Google sells music, Apple sells, like Spotify singularly focuses on music. It is a highly replaceable business model infrastructure. But people love the core experience of using Spotify for music. It is par none. People love Spotify for music. So theoretically, the way I think of data is like a lot of the big tech companies can manage data, interpret data, analyze data. But there's something keen about Palantir over the past 20 years of how they've understood how to analyze and synthesize data at scale with their technology that seems to make it a little bit more harder to compete with as the market is growing. How do you feel about competitors and sort of big tech trying to take a dig at being able to beat Palantir at their own game when it comes to data analysis?
So I think one thing that Palantir always says is their competition is not other companies, right? Their competition are the companies themselves.
Right.
Or their clients rather. So what they mean is being able to explain and actually sell the product to a company means overcoming the hurdle of their internal people actually understanding that they need something from the outside. Does that make sense?
Kind of
So
seeing
what
like a
they're trying,
problem, convincing them there is a problem at the end of the day.
yeah. So for example, their own IT department would want to sort of create their own offering. A company's IT department would want to create their own offering, or maybe their own software or their own code that would sort of synthesize the data, right?
Right.
So that's what they are going up against. And I completely understand what they're saying, because many times, especially so somewhat in banking, but when I started my consulting, a lot of the times my problem, or the person I had to fight the most, was the CFO in the company.
Right.
Okay. I was there to help the CFO, but instead you end up, fighting his resistance, right? Because he has a function. So the IT department or the CFO, whatever you want to say, they have a function within the company. And when a company like Palantir or consulting company comes from the outside and they come and tell you that, you know what, we can help you do your job better, they feel it like it's a direct attack on them, um, saying that you don't know how to do your job. You need someone from the outside to come and tell you how to do your job or to help you do your job, right?
Right.
So people within companies feel attacked when they see stuff like this. And I think that is what Palantir is describing as their biggest problem. And I completely understand that. Now, when you say other companies as being competitors, there's obviously Snowflake, which is like the primary one. And sure, Google and all these people can just as easily get into it. I mean, Google is one of the largest companies that has the most data in the world, probably of everyone.
Yep.
I think more than Facebook or anybody else. I think Google controls everything.
It
Right?
knows what you search every day. Yeah.
Every day. I mean, so they probably even know what you're thinking. So I understand that it's possible, but at the same time, I think Palantir has been at this much longer than any one of them,
Yeah.
and this is another reason why they're investing in their people so heavily. Okay, and for sure they have a superior product, because if they didn't, I'm pretty sure the US military wouldn't be buying from them. Um, so when you look at the government, so the US military is the largest, the best funded militaries in the world, right? The defense budget is huge. So they have the power to buy whatever they want.
Right.
And with that money, they would always buy the best. So their due diligence is much, much, much more than most other companies, right?
Right.
First of all, because it's the public money, so they have to answer where the money is going. So they can't just buy anyone. And then secondly, they need the best. And that's what they're being given the money for. So they have the means and they have the intention. So if they are buying Palantir, it tells me one thing. It tells me that Palantir is a superior product.
Right.
So otherwise, they wouldn't be getting those contracts.
Right. Pretty simple when you put it like that.
Yeah. No, it is. And in fact, that's one of the reasons also why I invested, because you do what the best does. So for example, if why do we look at analyst ratings from JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs? I mean, the thing is, there are 100 analysts out there. You look at various other ones. Yes, you like them. Yes, you listen to them. But I think when JP Morgan says something, when Jamie Dimon says something, we stop and listen, right?
Right.
So it's like that. It's always when the best is the best. So when the government, when the military is buying something, it tells me that this company definitely has something there. And if the CIA is relying on them, what else do we need, right?
Right.
So yeah, it's stuff like this, and there are other companies that might come into play, but I think the way that it would be built would be the other way around, right? So Google is a public company. They've been dealing with the public, and now they want to go into data services. So it's from the other person versus where Palantir comes from is they've been dealing with the government. They've been very secretive. So if they're keeping the government's data secret, you'd probably think that they'd keep your data secret as well,
Right.
right?
Right.
So I think where privacy is concerned, I know people have a lot to say about Palantir's privacy, but I think Palantir would be a more secretive company than Google or anybody else who's actually providing services to the public. So when it comes to those kind of offerings, my guess is people will go with Palantir.
Yeah. I mean, to me, it's not even. I mean, Google.
they sell advertising, right? They need the public's data. Like they're an advertising company. They make 95% of the revenue from that little thing that pops up with the ad button after you search something. And Palantir just has a fundamentally different business model than that, and they're honed into that approach. It's the same thing with Spotify for me, like again, music is easy to copy, but Spotify spent years and years negotiating with the record labels, kind of like Palantir with the government, to build this superior service and user interface and algorithm of recommendations for music to the point where they are the music king, and it's bar none when anyone else would try to compete with them.